All right, guys. Today is December the 23rd, 2019. This is the back of page 29. We're finishing the notes for factoring. So it's factoring day 2. It's going to be some of the stuff we did yesterday, but not exactly the same. Today, all our trinomials have a number in front. There's a coefficient in front of the x squared other than 1. So today's method is going to be a little bit of what we did yesterday and then something new. The method today we're using is called slide, divide, bottoms up. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with the number in front of the x squared. We're going to multiply that times the 2. That's our slide. So we're going to multiply that. So 7 times 2 is 14, and let's rewrite it. Since I slide that 7 over to the 2, it's no longer in the front. And then we're going to do what we did yesterday. See, it looks very similar to what we did yesterday. The coefficient now is 1. So we focus on the 14. Factors of 14, 1 and 14, 2 and 7. We're going to pick the one that gives me the middle term. 2 plus 7 is 9, so that's the one we're going to pick. Since they're all positives, I don't have to worry about the sign. Okay. So we've done the first step. We did the slide. We did what we did yesterday, factoring out the last term and selecting the factors that give me the middle term. Then, now we're in the divide part. Well, we're going to divide by the number that we split, right? The one that we slide by, that we multiply. That's 7. So since we multiply by that 7, now we have to go back. And we're going to divide the last number on both factors or both binomials by 7. Now, only this second one divides into a whole number, but not the first one. The first one is a fraction, so that's where we're going to do bottoms up. I don't want fractions, so go ahead and put that 7 in front of the x. And that 2 stays. So that this is our answer. Because it's a lot of steps, make sure you check your answer. You're going to do this by going to a graph, plugging in the original problem, 7x squared plus 9x plus 2. Then tab, you're going to graph your answer. Open parentheses, 7x plus 2, close parentheses, open parentheses, x plus 1. Oops. Parentheses, x plus 1. Okay. When you hit enter, they need to graph on top of each other, meaning they're the same equation, so that is correct. We factored it out correctly, so that's our answer. Okay. Let's go ahead and do it again. 2 times 5, that's slide. That's 10. Factor out factors of 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. We need the one, because it's a positive 10, we need the one that adds to give me the middle term, 7. So 2 and 5. Since they're all positive, I don't have to worry about the signs. Now we're going to do the divide by the number we multiplied. 2. This simplifies to give me x plus 1, but this does not simplify to a whole number, so we do bottoms up. The 2 goes in front of the x, and the 5 stays. And this is our answer. Okay, number 3. Now, number 3, watch out for that one, and I'll show you why. 3 times negative 2, right, that's our slide, will give me negative 6. Then we do the factors of 6. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Now, because the 6 is negative, I know that these have to be opposite signs. So they're not really going to add. When we combine them, when they're opposite signs, we subtract and keep the sign of the larger one. So because it's a negative 6, they really need to subtract to give me a 5. So it has to be 1 and 6. If I didn't know that, I would have picked 2 and 3 because 2 plus 3 also gives me 5, but 6 minus 1 gives me 5. So we're going to determine it by the sign. If it's negative, they subtract. If it's positive, then they have to add. So it's going to be 1 and 6. The 6 has to be positive because the middle term is positive. So when I combine them, I always keep the sign of the bigger one. And then that way I can end up with a positive 5 in the middle. All right, now we're in the divide part. We divide by the number we multiply, by 3, which is always going to be the first term there, or the coefficient of x squared. So this doesn't divide, but this does. X plus 2, right? 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then we do bottoms up with 3. 3x minus 1. This is our answer. All right. Number 4 is like number 6 in our homework on page 31. You're going to rearrange it. The x squared goes first, then the one with the x, then the 16. We do not want an x squared, a negative, so we're going to factor out a negative 1. Pretty much that just changes all the signs to the opposite. And then there's no coefficient in front of the x squared other than 1, so we can factor out just like yesterday. Focus on the last term. Pick the one that gives me the middle term. 8 minus 2 would give me 6. So those are our factors. Okay. They have to be opposite because it's a negative 16, so opposite signs. This 8 has to be the positive one because the middle term is positive. And then don't forget we have a negative 1 in the front. So that's how you do number 6 on the homework. Number 5. There is no middle term with the x, so we put plus 0. Now we're going to do slide divide bottoms up. That's going to give me negative 100. Then we're going to focus on the factors of 100. 1 in 100, 2 in 50, 4 in 25, 5 in 20, 10, and 10. Well, because it's a negative 100, they need to subtract, because they're going to be opposite signs, to give me the middle term, which is 0. So it's going to be 10 and 10. They need to multiply to give me a negative 100, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and they need to add to give me a 0, and they do. 10 minus 10, or 10 plus negative 10, gives me 0. All right, we still do have to divide by the number we multiplied, so 4. But the fraction doesn't divide evenly, but we can simplify it. 5 halves, 5 halves. Then we do bottoms up. So it's going to be 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5. On number 6, we can factor out a negative 5. We don't want this to be negative, so we might as well factor out a negative 5 because all of these are divisible by 5. Remember, we're dividing by a negative 5 or factoring out a negative 5, so it's going to switch our signs. Looks like yesterday's, so we're going to factor out just like yesterday. We pick the one that adds or subtract because it's a negative. They have to subtract to give me the middle term. So 1 and 9. Opposite signs, so I can get a negative 9. And then 9 is bigger, the middle term is positive 5. That's our answer. Okay. On number 8, we're going to do the same thing we did on 6, where we can factor out a number, even though it's not negative. See how they're all divisible by 8? So we might as well divide by 8. That way we have smaller numbers.